Ask Me Anything by Redical. My climbing partners and I were kidnapped and held hostage for a week before we conspired to throw a guy off a cliff to escape. Ask Me Anything. For what reason were they holding you hostage? Their story was that they just wanted to live in the mountains, herd goats and pray. There's a guy who is president in their country who is real bad. Fact. He's called Kerimov. Their boss was going to get on the phone with Bill Clinton and sort it all out. I didn't have a lot of faith in that, so stuck with the plan of killing them and escaping. Do you still resent your kidnapper? It seems like you took what he did remarkably well. I never did. Of the 4 of them, 3 were super cool kids who were psyched to be hanging out with foreigners. They were actually having a struggle between being good kidnappers and being good hosts. Even in the middle of it, I completely understood their position. The hard part was the reality that they had to die. It is pretty black and white as soon as people start hitting the ground dead. Who would you cast to play you in the movie of your life? Bill Murray. Every time I see documentaries, movies, TV shows about guys like you, people who spend their time climbing mountains, traveling around the world, being kidnapped by Kyrgyzstanians, the very first thing that comes to me is not how awesome it is, and it is, by how do you support yourself financially? If I put a backpack on my back right now and go live some amazing life adventure on a foreign land, I know that 1 month from now I will be poor, hungry and with a lot of bills to pay, and on the top of some mountain, which is not the best place to be poor, hungry and with bills to pay. So, what's the secret? Is there some organization paying people for traveling around the world? Are you a treasure hunter like Lara Croft? Are you super rich? Are plane tickets cheaper for you for some esoteric reason? Thanks in advance. Actually, I am into metal detecting, but it has only netted maybe $1,000 loose change and 1 gold ring. I was a professional climber working for the North Face. They sponsored this trip. I also had a job in the RD&D department. I'm called Singer because I sew and build things. Afterward, we sold the story for a book and movie. Cheap countries made more sense. What exactly was going through your head when you made the decision to throw a man off a cliff? What was it like being out of society? Peaceful? Stressful? Glad to see you're improving. What exactly was going through your head when you made the decision to throw a man off a cliff? It took us about 4 hours to figure out that we were hostages. After that realization, it took me about 30 seconds to realize that at least 1, and probably all 4, of these guys had to die. My partners were completely opposed at first, and Tommy was completely until the moment he snapped and did it. It was a complex situation that is hard to describe briefly, but John and I had been looking for the right spot for 2 hours as we moved up the mountain. When I knew it was happening that night, the feeling was pure elation. The hard part was that I liked the kid, too. What was it like being out of society? Peaceful? Stressful? You can never understand yourself and your own culture fully until you step completely outside of it for a significant period. That's the difference between holiday vacation and traveling. I went where the wind blew and had no plans whatsoever. I was all about getting to know people, their families, their villages, their children, helping in the rice fields, asking a gazillion questions. Cutting loose like that for years is pure peace. I used to sometimes travel for a few months with all my stuff in a plastic bag from 7-Eleven, 1 extra shirt, toothbrush paste, sarong, iPod headphones, current stock of books. Thanks. Rock on. What are the next 3 things you want to accomplish, see or learn? Very good question. Thank you. I want to spread my story, though speaking. The message is centered around how to understand the world, other people, and why they do the things they do. Everybody does what is in their own best interest, and understanding leads to mutual kindness and benefit. You can't judge others' motivations by their actions. The Horn of Africa. By foot. I study languages and would like to be fluent in Arabic. How did Turat's family respond to you telling them what happened? With gratitude. His mother said she wished I had used him for a bullet shield because he would have been proud to know that he could save our life after he was dead. Holy crap, Jason. It's Jason from Panachung this summer. I had found a Telegraph article about your story, but you definitely know it better than anyone else. Do you have any tips on becoming a better climber? I've gotten much more serious about it after I got back and had a great trip down to Joshua Tree National Park in California for some bouldering with my friends last month. I'd really like to improve my skills to one day make it up Mount Thor, though not solo as you did. For anyone who doesn't know, Mount Thor's main face is the world's largest natural vertical drop at 1,250 meters. I've been told that Jason climbed this face when he was just 19. Hey dude, man, it was epic up there this year after all the sea ice and bad weather. I soloed Asgard in around 3 hours but didn't take a rope to get down and had to wait for 18 hours for my friends to catch up. Almost froze to death. Again, slacklining and top roping hard stuff over and over again until you have it wired. Great to hear you're getting after it. Stay in touch. How do you feel personally about Caldwell's recent success at El Cap, and do you think it will change climbing? Tommy blows my mind. I don't have the capacity to understand how he does it. His free climbing on El Cap has already changed climbing in the sense that he's 10 or 20 years ahead of the game. Bro, what a story. Let me ask a basic question. Like, how did you guys get to go to the bathroom? Did they let you pee and poop? Not kidding. I am always curious. Is it like the movies where they watch you, or did they just expect you to defecate on yourself? Thanks for the ask me anything. We didn't shit for over a week because we weren't eating. We had half a power bar a day for the first 3 days, then nothing. We only got water once a night, usually, so we wouldn't have been peeing a lot either. Anyway, 6 people fan out over 10 or 15 meters hiking, so it's easy to step aside, and they were quite decent guys. There's a couple of Amazon reviews that point out other things. A few are fairly convinced that this situation didn't actually happen like the book makes out. Another version puts it this way: they got kidnapped. The kidnappers were not prepared to babysit 4 climbers and did not have enough food or water for everyone. They got no support from local villagers, so they let the climbers go. End of story. The climbers say they pushed a kidnapper to his death and then ran the equivalent of a marathon across mountainous terrain with no food or water, after having had no food or water for days. Not likely. In Kyrgyzstan at the time, most expats had the same opinion of these 4 stupid rich kids in over their heads who greatly exaggerated their story. Double quote. What do you think of these stories? How have they come about? Reminds me of the beginning of Far Cry 3. r/no context, Sue. Hey so, sorry about the whole, OP. Yep, Sue, the whole thing. With the shooting at you and holding you hostage and threatening to kill you or sell you off to terrorist groups for ransom. OP. Yep man, it's cool. Sue. Yep, I didn't really aim at you. I aimed at your feet. OP. No yep, we saw. And the whole. Well sorry from us too. Sue. No. Yep, it's totally cool. Forget it. OP. We saw our opportunity, and we threw you off a cliff. Sue. No. Please. I would have done the same. Totally cool. Man. Really. OP. We had to. Haha. Didn't want to die out there. Sue. Hahaha. Yep. No. It's cool. Seriously. Completely cool. He likes the guy for irrational reasons, so there isn't much OP can do about it. What did you see in your nightmarish hallucination? I was back on the mountain when we were literally passing out from hypothermia and seconds away from death. The ice was closing in around me and I knew I had to break it to get out. I started screaming, running forward, and windmilling my fists. In reality, the ice was the window in the emergency shelter we had got to that Cedar was sleeping under. So imagine his surprise. What did you take away from this experience that you'd like the world to know about? People are all basically the same and always have been. Everybody does what is best for themselves based on the information they have available and their cultural background. Romans threw their kids in the river in winter to weed out the bad soldiers early. Having a bad soldier was bad for them, bad for the child, and bad for society. They were just trying to do the right thing for everybody. Do you think the fact that him being a boy named Sue helped him survive the fall? He'd have to be pretty tough, after all. Alternatively, did you feel the urge to greet him months later with, "Sue, how do you do? Glad you didn't die"? I even read that in JC's voice. Excellent. Holy shit dude. That is an intense story. Thanks for doing this Ask Me Anything. I know by your 2001 story that you hiked after your kidnapping. How did the kidnapping affected your hiking experiences? Also, how was your life before the kidnapping? Thanks again for doing this. Hope your life is only filled with happiness from now on. How did the kidnapping affected your hiking experiences? I appreciate the journey and the people I meet along the way rather than being focused on my own goals and an arbitrary summit. Also, how was your life before the kidnapping? Pretty good, as a sponsored athlete, but also self-absorbed and unable to see it, like many people. So I would never go back. Climbers need to stop and look around a bit more often because they go to such amazing parts of the world and pass most of on the way to their goal. Thanks for the kindness and take care. What did you do for 10 years in Asia? Where were you? What did you learn? I was all over Asia and Europe mostly for about 6. Then I moved to Australia with my wife. I was in Laos for a year, Cambodia for a year, Thailand for several. We've been places like Albania, Kashmir, and Kazakhstan. All over. Treat others with kindness and generosity. Do more than your part with a smile. Take a course in economics. I have often wondered why regular people like yourself wander so casually about in dangerous areas of the world that are rife with political turmoil, corruption, wars and populated with people whose religions are so against Westerners. What were you thinking? Seriously, what outcome were you expecting and how did your overall experience meet up with that expectation? First of all, thank you for your kind tone even though you're skeptical. People are people. If you treat them with kindness you'll usually get it in return. Oakland is way scarier than most places I've been and 4 people were robbed at gunpoint in the Mission last week. The idea that everybody hates us is an absolute myth. The Quran teaches that travelers are a gift from God and that it is their duty as good Muslims to take care of you. The hospitality is off the charts in many Islamic countries. You can't stop people from giving you everything. Also, they all have governments that they hate too and they don't tend to associate people with their government like we do. 15 years ago, I could never have imagined how much worse things would have gotten. It is really heartbreaking. Obligatory double gold edit. Thanks. I just want to add that people don't normally do things to harm other people. They do things to help themselves. Here is one of the relevant verses, 22:46. Do they not travel through the land, so that their hearts and minds may thus learn wisdom and their ears may thus learn to hear? Truly it is not their eyes that are blind, but their hearts which are in their breasts. First, do you think your kidnapper looks ridiculously photogenic? Second, have you stopped climbing? Seems like it's bad juju. Yep, a bit I guess. He was pretty happy to see us. I think he thought we were there to get him out of prison. I don't climb much. What did you think about during those 7 days? Thank you. So I read that outside article before I read the entirety of your post. You're telling me that Sue survived that fall? How is that possible? You didn't ask him or anyone else who may know. What was the scenario where you had to face him again? Did you meet your wife before or after the 10 years of falling off the planet? Thanks for watching this Redical video. Subscribe for the best Reddit videos straight to your feed 3 times a day.